This is the Book Legion Podcast, where we review thought-provoking books to give our Legionnaires the knowledge they need to dominate the next level of their life.
Hey everybody, this is Tyser Evans. Thanks for joining me on the Book Legion this week. This week we're going to be covering the book, The GCode by Ryan Stewman. So if you're not familiar with Ryan Stewman, he is the hardcore closer on Instagram and on all social media platforms. He's a really fascinating guy. He was born in the Dallas area, Plano, Texas, still lives in Dallas today. I think he lives in Highland Park area. He was a guy that had a rough upbringing. He was adopted, unfortunately went to prison for selling drugs, got out of prison, tried to turn around his life, ended up working at a car wash. Now, what's really interesting about Ryan working at this car wash, as he started to transform his life, he took this job very seriously. Convicted felon, had a hard time finding work, and so he just decided that he was going to change his life for the better. And so at that car wash, he went after it, broke records as far as how many cars he would get washed, how his attention to detail was immaculate. He started building rapport with customers, and through this rapport building, because people go to the same car wash, every couple of weeks, once a month, this lady recruited him for him to come be a loan officer. So he went to work with this lady in the mortgage business and became a loan officer, did fantastically well, sold all kinds of loans, broke all kinds of records, made all kinds of money. And then in 2010, the Dodd-Frank Act went into place after the mortgage crisis, and it put Ryan out of work overnight because he was a convicted felon. So pivoting, he decided to start his own business, and the business he was going to start was he was going to train loan officers how to get more business by using social media. So he started down this journey of becoming a business owner. Now Ryan's involved in over, I believe, 30 different businesses. I think he only operates 3 to 4 as a CEO, which is, I shouldn't say only, which is a lot, but he's invested in several other businesses and created a wonderful life for himself. Phone Sites is the company, a technology company that I think that he's most focused on and known for now in his space. He's also been an author and written 4 books, including the GCode, a couple of good sales books. The reason why I wanted to cover this book today is because it has just 4 basic, very simple principles. The GCode, if you stick to the GCode, helps to elevate your game to the next level. So it's definitely a personal development book. It's very simple. It's a pretty quick read. Let's see what we've got about 180 pages. So I knocked it out in a couple of days. Ryan writes like you're talking to him, so it's a very easy book to read. So let's jump into my top 3 takeaways. So the first takeaway is in chapter 2, and Ryan starts to talk about what the whole book is surrounding about. And this is actually, he's a podcaster as well, and he has a podcast called Rewiring, and the podcast goes over the same thing. And it's this idea of how do we overcome the force of average, as he calls it. How do we get people to stop playing small, thinking small, living a mediocre life, and rise up and walk into their own greatness, walk into their full potential. So he basically uses these 4 G's, the GCode, to help combat the force of average. So chapter 2 is just interesting, this whole concept of the force of average. And he gives all kinds of examples about how the force of average is after you every day to make you think small, play small, be fearful, not make any waves, and not get ever to your maximum potential as a human being. So I really like the way he spins this force of average, and now it's a common saying that I use all the time. If I'm having a day where I feel a bit lethargic, then I kind of have that, don't let the force of average is coming after you. This is the force of average. It's starting to seep in. You're starting to feel comfortable. That's not what we do here. Got to get after it, Ty. I start to have this thought process, and this all came from this book. So chapter 2 was great because he does a great job of explaining what the force of average is and how it'll come at you in all areas of your life. The second chapter I want to cover is chapter 10, and this is where he gets into the 4 different principles, or the 4 G's, as he calls them, to conquer the force of average. So the first 9 chapters kind of go over mindset, and he goes over a lot of different pillars of your life, and then he jumps into the 4 G's, the 4 pillars. And the first one I want to cover, which I think is the most important, is gratitude. So Ryan is really big on gratitude. He has an app called the GCode app. And the first thing, I have it downloaded on my phone. I use it every day. The first thing that you're supposed to do when you wake up in the morning, grab your phone, open the app, and list out 5 things you're grateful for. Gratitude is a really important part for him. The reason that we start every day with listing 5 things you're grateful for, it starts to shift your mindset into focusing on positivity first thing in the morning. So you don't get any negative bullshit. You don't start the day off on the wrong foot. We're just going to focus on things that we're grateful for. And so by doing this practice every day, you're like, I can list 5 things. We're doing that day after day after day becomes more challenging, but also makes you and forces you to realize how many blessings you have in your life. And so he really dispels about why gratitude is so important and why having a gratitude practice and appreciating gratitude will help overcome the force of average. And then the last chapter I want to talk about is chapter 11, which it covers the second G, which is genetics. And this is talking about health and wellness. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up, because I don't think enough personal development books, a lot of them are very focused on mindset, and you got to start with the mind, but I think it's the easiest to take control of the body first. And not enough people don't explain that if you don't have your pillar, your temple, completely built out by hitting the gym, giving it good foods, keeping it hydrated, taking your supplements, it's almost impossible to beat the force of average because you're running on low octane, you're running on low fuel. And so he pays a special attention to this, that you got to get your health and wellness right in order to be a high performer. If you look at all the guys that are out there in the space that are achieving high-end results, you don't see them weighing 300 pounds. I think guys like Ed Milet, jacked. Cardone at 63, jacked. Stewman, jacked, right? Sean Whalen, jacked. Andy Frisella, jacked. All these guys that have 8, 9-figure, 10-figure companies, these guys are all really into being physically fit. Because when you're physically fit, again, bad foods will cause you to have brain fog. If you have brain fog, you can't operate at a high level. If you're constantly drinking soda and you're binged out on caffeine, then you have the highs and lows of coming down, coming up. You can't have a consistent workflow. If you're not hydrated, it can lead to all kinds of problems. If you're not taking your supplements, you can be deficient. Again, you have highs and lows of energy. And most importantly for me, why I go to the gym every morning, I'm there at 6. I work out from 6 to 7, usually 6 days a week. Because it starts my day off with, you start off with confidence, and then I go through my morning routine, but then I feel gratitude. But then when you come out of the gym, you feel confident. When you feel confident, it sets the whole trajectory of your day up for success. You start with gratitude, you go to the gym, you come out, you feel confident, you got a little bit of swag, you go into work, you're gonna crush it because you feel good about your mind and your body. You set yourself up for success, and when you set yourself up for success early, then that's how you start to overcome the force of average. So again, he goes over his 4 Gs. I won't ruin the other 2 for you, so you read the book. I really enjoyed the book. I said it's a very simple but a very effective read. It's called the GCode, again, by Ryan Stewman. I highly recommend it. You can knock it out in 2 or 3 days, and just good 4 simple pillars to keep you on a high trajectory for your life, to have you beat the force of average. So if you guys want to pick up the book, go right down in the show notes. You'll find a link right to the book. You can purchase it. I think it's like $8 or $9, $10. It's not very expensive for the amount of value you get out of it. I'll link some of Ryan's other books as well, some of his sales books. If you're interested in those, you can buy them from the links. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the podcast YouTube channel. Drop me a 5-star review. Let me know how these book reviews are impacting you. If you're liking the books, if you're enjoying the books, any ones you want me to cover. Really appreciate the support and everybody listening. Thanks so much.